Beware of spirit vampires, and know that the blood is where the spirit lives. That the spirit lives in the blood. There are forces, there are entities out there that they feed off of your life force. They feed off the blood, the plasma. This is how they get their high. This is how they get their energy. You know, everything has a food source. Every entity has a food source. These particular vampire energies, parasitic vampire energies feed off of blood or your spirit, your energy. As I said before, your ashe, your chi. This is why it is important that you protect your ashe, that you protect your chi. You know, when I last left off, I was talking about blood banks and, what's the name of the bank? When you donate to a blood bank, what bank is it going to? What's the name of the bank? Did you get an account number? Can you make deposits and withdrawals from your own personal account? Is your blood on reserve from your account? Let's say when you need it. If you have, say, some type of situation that occurs and you need blood, you know, um, is your blood on reserve for you? If you need a transfusion, can you withdraw from your own account? When you get blood work done, what do they do with all the blood? It only takes a small portion or a drop for them to test and analyze your blood. So what do they do with the rest of it? Where does it go? Does it go to your account? Does it go to your blood bank? If not your blood bank, if not your account, whose bank, whose blood bank, whose account does it go to? Where does the blood go? You know, do you have a blood bank card? Can you use it to make withdrawals and deposits? Did your blood bank issue you a blood bank card or a blood bank account number? With no bank card, without a bank card or without an account number, how could you make transactions? You know, see, you got to think about some of these things. These people, they have people psyched into giving blood and donating blood and thinking that they're helping the needy and so forth and so on. With all of this blood that you give doing blood work, not even donation. Some people don't donate blood. But where does your blood go when you get blood work done? you know and again, if you're in need of a blood transfusion, which I wouldn't recommend, but if you, let's say, were to get a blood transfusion, is this your own blood that they're infusing you with? Because the blood inside the body is one color, the blood outside the body is another color. Why are these people giving you old blood? Why are they giving you oxygenated blood? Why are they giving you, you know, something other than what belongs in your body? But you wonder why people's bodies reject these transfusions, or why they develop disease or illness behind these transfusions. Because foreign blood is not supposed to be mixed in with your blood. This is where you get viruses from. Foreign blood and foreign DNA, foreign RNA entering your bloodstream. So there's no way that this can be beneficial for you. Now, if it's not beneficial for humans or for the people, who is this blood beneficial for? Classic vampire line is I would like to drink your blood, or can I drink your blood? That's the classic vampire line. Now, they sell animal blood in the meat market. They even put that in vampire movies before. Had a vampire kid going to get, blood, pig blood from the meat market from the butcher because he didn't want to feed on people. Kind of similar to Interview with the Vampire. He fed on animals, farm animals, rodents, so forth and so on, because he didn't want to feed on people. And this is where they have, different levels of their vampirism. Some feed on human blood, some feed on animal blood. The majority, they have the masses feeding on animal blood. So this is how the masses have become the minions or ghouls. You know, um, know a lot of this stuff may seem a little, far out, so forth and so on. Just think about it. Where does the blood go? What do they need with all of this blood? You know, organ banks, different things like that. They have banks for blood and organs. All of these different things. Where does it go to? Are you putting your organs on reserve for family members down the line that may need an organ? No. So, where are your organs? Where are your blood going to? You're dealing with life forces, you know, energy vessels. Organs are sources of energy. Organs are energy, are living energy. Organ, organic. You're dealing with vibration, energy, life. You know, and these people, they feed off of this. I shouldn't say people. These parasites feed off of your life force. They want to consume and devour your life force because that is their life source. They feed off of you. So some of this stuff, if you look up the book Mummies, Cannibals, and Vampires, the history of European corpse medicine, you'll see how, these people were eating body parts and thinking it could be beneficial to eat certain organs, or drinking blood and doing certain things thinking it would give them strength. These are the same people that have convinced the majority of people that eating animals will make them stronger, or make them strong like this particular animal, or that they get some type of strength or grow to be big and strong from eating an animal. See, this is what happens when you deal with parasites, or you know Neanderthals, or those with calcified pineal glands. Those that come from that Caucasus Mountain area. When you're dealing with various other species on the planet, that may appear to look like you, but they are not like you. You know, there's certain animals in nature that appear to be the same or look alike, but they have different diets. They feed off different things. They eat different things. It's the same with individuals that appear to be people or that appear to be human. Because you have humans, you have man, you have mankind. You're dealing with light, with the light of man. You're dealing with, man, the physical, the light and the manifestation, light and physical manifestation, or the star in the body that has a soul that comes from the divine creator. And then you deal with mankind that's copied or grafted, only has spirit, doesn't contain soul. It doesn't have the soul from the divine creator or the divine source. It has a synthetic soul, or something soul like. This is why these people try to, or this is why these things try and transfuse or transcend, with artificial intelligence. I told you before, I'll say it again, these people are trying to create souls. These people want to be immortal. So they're feeding off of these different things. They talked about this and a little bit in Hidden Colors 3. They touched on that. So it's not like, this is just some, information, something that's just made up. There's research, there's been studies on these different things. But the thing is, they don't want the people to know. Dead fetal cells, they're putting in, is it Nestle products contain dead fetal cells. Um, Pepsi products contain dead fetal cells. Why are they using dead fetal cells? They use the dead fetal cells for flavor. Flavor for who? Vampires. It's the blood flavor. You think about it, a person that eats dead flesh, or what they call meat, whether it be chicken, steak, turkey, what have you, try eating a piece without seasoning it and see what the flavor is that you get from it. You've been convinced that you're adding the flesh to the veggies to give it flavor. But in actuality, the flesh only tastes like what you season it with. Without the seasoning, without the sides to go with it, the flesh just tastes like flesh and blood. Now, is that the sugar? Is that the taste that you're looking for? The blood sugar? Because that's what protein is, a sugar. RNA. You're dealing with sugars. DNA, you know, dealing with sugars. So these individuals feed off of your blood sugar, but I'm not gonna go off, too deep into that, but just think about it. Where does all of this blood go? Who's using this blood? You know, and again, if it's a blood bank and you're depositing in this blood bank, where's your deposit slip? Where's your form? Where's your bank statement? Where are all the things that will come along with setting up an account or making deposits with any other bank? Why is the blood bank exempt? Think about these things. You know, don't give your blood, don't give your organs. They're yours for a reason. Don't allow your blood to be transfused or foreign blood to be mixed in with yours. That's foreign spirit, foreign energies, emotions. If we already have difficulty controlling our own energies and emotions, how would we be able to control foreign energy, emotion? You wonder why people are flipping out or appear to be losing their mind, or some say insane, but out of sanity, you know, out of their mind. So you need to think about these different things, because there's a food chain. Contemplate where's your position on the food chain. Who are you food for? See, people have been so focused on feeding themselves, they're not thinking about who they're fattening themselves up to feed. The same way an animal feeds and gets fat for a person to consume it. Have you ever thought that there's something, some entity that wants you to feed yourself and for you to beef up or pork up or fatten yourself up so they can eventually feed off of you? To think about these things. This is what happens, when you start to think about things holistically. You start to look at the bigger picture. You start to realize that these puzzle pieces are adding up to something, that they're displaying an image, and you can start to make out this image, called codes or clues. You know, the more you piece together, the more clues are revealed to you. So again, be cautious, of these different things. Do your homework, study, look into the all, study the all, don't limit your intelligence, don't limit yourself, you know, push it to the limit, push yourself to the limit, so just wanted to touch on that, and let me give you a few things to think about, but yeah, definitely dealing with parasitic vampire type energies, and they're not only existing in physical forms, they also take other forms as well, but on that note, until next time, rise and be greater. Peace. Become whole again.